Before you listen, if you enjoy the stories and want to hear more, then please consider subscribing. Most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please take this time to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story and be the first to hear. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. Who knew a vintage Star Wars collectibles kit could plunge me into paranormal terror? After becoming obsessed with snagging an ultra-rare Boba Fett toy prototype advertised on Craigslist, I found myself venturing to the listing's meetup destination deep in the fog-drenched Bay backwoods. As GPS voiced, "You have arrived," I squinted nervously at what appeared an abandoned, rotting shack surrounded by overgrown brambles rather than any inhabited residence. Tendrils of mist enveloped the property, illuminating my rental car in an otherworldly glow. Apprehension knotted my gut, wondering if I had just parked on set of some hillbilly horror flick. But passion to finally capture this holy grail bounty hunter, fueling my collection for years, propelled me towards the ramshackle front door before logic steered retreat. Through cracked windows with newspaper covering, no signs of life emanated. But I still rapped firmly twice just to see angry fireflies disperse from the drooping roof side. Silence rang out until sudden creaking hinges made me yelp as the door moaned open inch by inch. A haunted woman's face materialized from the murk as she stared blankly. "You hear about the doll baby?" Her hollow voice sent a chill down my sweat-soaked back despite the 90-degree air. I stammered quiet confirmations, and she gestured curtly for me to enter the choking darkness as she shuffled ahead without glancing back. Floorboards groaning under each uneasy step, I trailed her shadowy form through a narrow hall into a dust-choked parlor. In the dramatic beam of light revealing our destination, a dozen glass-eyed baby dolls seemed to float around an antique crib housing what appeared the very rare intergalactic bounty hunter I had risked life, limb, and solvency pursuing ever since the online ad posted weeks prior. Hardly daring to breathe, I gingerly lifted his plastic form, marveling at authentic details I had only seen referenced in obscure forums and secondary market auctions before. This isn't actually legit," I rasped aloud. The ghostly woman barely nodded. "Money. Hand it over if you're gonna." I quickly scrambled to pass wrinkled bills to her shaking claw, while cautiously nestling my holy grail boba safely in tissue paper inside my bag. No way would I risk even a sun-faded box damaging this mint-condition dream finder in transit home. Only after hitting the freeway did joyful reality set in that soon I would be unveiling the crown jewel of my near-complete 1980s Star Wars set. All my friends would be peat green with envy that layperson me unearthed what expert collectors claimed near urban legend quality. As I raced home plotting optimal display positions on my prized shelves, optimism drowned nagging doubts about the bizarre exchange location, clearly signaling illegal possession concerns. I had my glittering white whale, who cared about origin, shrouded in Bayou fog. Until 2 days later, when said mythical trophy toppled off my desk, cracking open the helmet to reveal a headless generic soldier rather than unique bounty hunter mug expected. Aghast, I grabbed magnifying glasses to inspect seams suggesting Canal Toys knockoffs. My pulse raced as I confirmed crude factory paint rather than era-appropriate ink marked this an utterly worthless counterfeit chunk. Enraged embarrassment mingled with violated betrayal, realizing I had been expertly swindled. Nearly $5,000 bought some redneck scam queen's random garage sale junk repackaged in knockoff costumes to dupe flew-over state rubes lacking real insider appraiser access out of a month's salary. With churning fury, I raced back to the GPS pin, hoping to unleash full Karen hellfires before this backwater trickster pawned more fakes on other wishful victims. But pulling down those twisted wooded trails again, no dilapidated hovel marked my destination any longer. Just weeds fully reclaiming decades abandoned rubble signaling zero human presence remained on site at all. I staggered from my car, peering into the encroaching gloom, searching for any clues my meeting with the creepy swamp mistress occurred anywhere but some alternate reality or eerie dreamscape. Had I hallucinated the entire encounter over obsessive bounty lust clouding judgment about meeting locations and her jerky marionette movements invoking mafia-esque visions? Local sheriff chuckled hearing my elaborate true ghost story of promised booty and trapping me off the interstate, into the legendary haunted wasteland old Madge roamed scamming and cursing any foreign fools. You ain't the first greenhorn city boy lured by phantom opportunities too sweet to fact-check twice. He winked with annoying casual authority. Legend goes old Madge materialized specially to punish Creed far as the swamp roads wind. Then she disappears quicker than spirits when visitors get wise, leaving damned artifacts hurting pride as much as pockets for forgetting values homegrown beyond backroad deals. His eyes crinkled knowingly. I reckon only path now is apologizing to the swamp winds for trespassing into temptation instead of appreciating what that hard-won collector's wage was meant for in the first place. Numb with shock hearing my supernatural mugger was one legendary among locals, I wandered back to stale highway motel air thick with resentment. All my exotic online network chasing myths proved worthless next to this stranger-than-fiction wizened watcher weaponizing foolish wishes. Weeks later, surrounded again by mint-condition marvels genuinely gradually gathered over hard decades, anger finally releases grip, and glimpsing fabled plastic opacity, I swear a faint crone cackle sounds beyond my window, but could be just sore pride distorting bullfrog songs into humanoid laughs. Regardless, lessons sink deep from this bay of bewitching. Maybe now I can embrace the virtuous thrill innate to incremental hunting rather than destined dupes from letting entitlement obscure the journey joy. Madge's laughing eyes winking somewhere between worlds wondering too. I know better than to tempt fate by messing with curses, but when a 19th century Tibetan soul trap box popped up on Craigslist for only $50, I couldn't resist mythology's allure. As a teacher and hobby folklorist, the hand-carved teak vessel intrigued me academically despite the foreboding description claiming all previous owners met disturbing demises. I figured some edgy teen crafted the ominous backstory about binding devil spirits for attention, although the ancient script etching spiral mottos did lend authentic ambience. In any case, I concluded spending a week's grocery cash satisfying scholarly curiosity around the occult seemed harmless enough during summer break boredom. Retrieving my dramatic new decor from the cellar's dark, ramshackle Victorian house set ominous expectations, but I brushed off the widow's melodramatic refrain, "No good comes from tampering with trapped evils," as theatrical greeting widow eccentricity. Nestling the soul trap box atop my curio cabinet, I rather appreciated its striking contrast alongside modern IKEA vases and Target prints. My eyes kept darting admiringly towards intricate carvings, while I researched attempts deciphering possible meanings. Everything about this relic captivated imagination, even discounting supernatural components. Until a week later when I awoke to find my carefully categorized mineral collection inexplicably scattered across the living room floor. Figuring I must have sleepwalked clumsily since stacks appeared untouched beyond seeming casually redistributed, I simply noted the anomaly in my dream journal before reorganizing the vibrant stones into their usual meticulous formations. But 3 days later, the entire sequence repeated itself. This time I also discovered drawers hanging open, clothing billowing from my closet and pantry items strewn down the hallway. Panicked someone had broken in vandalizing my home, I frantically reviewed security footage, but all cameras confirmed 0 intruders entered during the entire preceding night. No motion activated within my locked quarters, either suggesting confused sleep-related chaos. Uneasily, I again documented the paranormal events before resetting my environment, hoping writing routines might settle whatever odd episodes kept disrupting order. But as another week passed, mayhem only amplified every few days. Like clockwork, I would awaken finding new bewildering rearrangements. Paintings askew, books shuffled nonsensically between shelves, couch cushions flipped towards the floor. A few times research notes even materialized, torn to shreds coating my desk, despite all doors deadbolted against external interference. One morning, the entire contents of my closet lay piled atop sleeping me, causing serious panic I had utterly lost mental faculties. Yet no medical or psychological diagnosis explained escalating instability confined only to my home. Therapists suggested eliminating stress triggers, possibly manifesting unconsciously. But my routine remained highly zen as ever. No new relationships, medications, or lifestyle changes preceding the chaos. Baffled doctors vaguely suggested parasites, carbon monoxide exposure, or a neighbor with duplicate keys. However, not a scrap of evidence supported rational theories for why destroyed documents magically moved upstairs daily or furniture blocking my bedroom doorway some mornings. Almost as a punchline, the soul trap box chillingly remained the sole object untouched, decorating increasing madness. And peering again at swirling symbols marking intricate wood, revelation dawned. This concentration-anchored demonic relic generated controlled psychic torments, somehow manifesting environmentally contained madness. Scrambling online translated dire references to opening portals between worlds and binding spirits whose forced karmic harvesting slowly drives vessels insane via reality distortions. Suddenly, the widow's trapped eagle rants rang newly prophetic. I had blithely activated a metaphysical gateway linked to my consciousness alone as tighter boundaries dissolved nightly. Frantically, I grabbed the suddenly menacing box, now glaring down tauntingly. But grasping its carved edges produced no electric activation, releasing building psychic pressure. Wings of shadow fluttered at my periphery, while maniacal whispers echoed as I panicked. Had I accidentally volunteered as host to some interdimensional energy exchange? Would eternal limbo like purgatory persist unless passing this accursed hex onto another lucky owner heedless to rooms rearranging behind their vac daily? I couldn't unsee dizzying implications that my logical worldview had collided catastrophically against forces spanning beyond earthly conception. Nor could I disregard dangers ahead if environments continued morphing mysteriously around vulnerable loved ones. Pulse racing, I knew only one path forward before chronic madness or possessive harm took deeper foothold through my unbound trauma. Grabbing the soul trap despite scalding pain, I raced brokenly towards the creeping Victorian estate, praying its former guardian could offer sanctuary for crossed fates too late to fully avoid. As expected, the widow wordlessly opened her gnarled door, beckoning me directly towards the sitting room fireplace, glowing expectantly as if my cursed arrival flowed seamlessly into her own dance script. Into crackling flames, I reluctantly offered the spirited box, releasing it immediately from blistered flesh, hoping desperately its insatiable appetite for churning minds might finally rest if reunited with rightful next of kin. I held breath watching the widow's faraway gaze, observing ancient teak, eagerly surrender to hungry tongues, whose secrets now slipped back behind veils, forbidden from crossing into our flimsy earthly sphere. No natural law stated possession renounced cannot find pathways home, or feed ceaselessly on mortal foibles given the right invitation. As weeks morphed to months in my now tranquilly mundane world, dreams still echo softly warning against doors barely ajar. And deep down the sense persists certain artifacts weave tapestries unfit for wearing alone once they choose a destined host. But fully waking surrounded by familiar stillness bears sweet relief. I seemingly swapped curiosity for wisdom rather than soul as fair ransom for disturbing forces reminding us their watch continues just a thinning reality membrane beyond our boldest inventory. As a broke college kid, dropping my ancient hunk of junk laptop meant desperately stalking Craigslist freebie listings to snag some hand-me-down replacement preventing classwork crisis. So when I spotted a week-old post offering up a dusty but gently used MacBook Pro for only $60, I felt safe spotting such miracle bargain. Without over-contemplating sketch details potentially explaining the crazy discount, I messaged eagerly to claim my graduation lifeline. Meeting at the nearby park, no red flags stood out interacting with a middle-aged seller named Gavin clad in forgettable jeans and baseball hat, barely glancing up. His mumbled story blaming an ex for leaving the laptop behind getting quickly muted by excitement flashing cash to fund my poor grad student dreams again. Who cared why practically free tech deals materialized past midnight rendezvous exchanges with nameless goodwill givers? Safely home, I plugged in anxious to confirm functional magic promising at least a few smooth working semesters ahead before software outpaced my bargain's dated capabilities. But as the startup screen illuminated stiff plastic edges now weathered soft, I noticed an external drive icon titled surveillance footage in my Explorer sidebar. Odd name, I thought absently clicking through folders revealing hundreds of active desktop screenshots plus videos time stamped in precise 5-minute intervals going back 3 entire years. I've opened the earliest dated files expecting maybe some Honey I Shrunk the Kids reference or quirky art project explaining the medieval imagery slowly populating my screen, until human forms sharpened into focus within each scene. A distinct blonde woman emerged in disconcertingly vivid detail moving about utterly mundane domestic tasks. Washing dishes, working at her desk, yoga poses in front of broad shadowed windows, all depicted from an intimate insider angle like a ghostly spectator inventoried her every routine. I slammed the laptop shut, heart suddenly racing to slam dunk deductions. This was covertly confiscated property, being relentlessly surveilled. Not some generic lost and found electronics those unnerving files indicated. Fear surged, wondering if I had unwittingly inherited holy grail blackmail detailing horrors planned for this unsuspecting woman, now documented fanatically courtesy of some unstable voyeur I enabled access to. Equally plausible, my seller himself was behind the rivetingly private imagery I continued violating simply witnessing. What if I was patient zero infection, set to spread his gnarly mental pathogen wider once pursuits of new obsessions outpaced squirreling artifacts of past conquests? Panic rising as freefall reality set in, I began combing dozens more revealed folders littered across the creepy virtual trove. Alongside Jug counterparts, I now noticed doc files containing thousands of time-stamped word pages. Gulping anxiously, morbid fascination drew me towards opening the earliest document dated precisely the same month stills began 3 years prior, and their meticulously transcribed read. My new downstairs neighbor moved in 5 weeks ago, and I cannot stop compulsively tracking her every move. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks, my mind racing with the implications of what I'd stumbled upon. My initial curiosity about the contents of the second-hand laptop I had innocently purchased was now replaced with a cold dread. It was one thing to find forgotten files, quite another to discover what appeared to be evidence of someone's life being monitored without their knowledge. I sat there for a moment, the laptop now a sinister presence on my desk. My heart was pounding, my thoughts a whirlwind of fear and confusion. Reluctantly, I opened the laptop again, my hands almost trembling. The files were organized meticulously by date, each one named with a precision that suggested obsession. As I clicked through the files, the scenes unfolding on my screen were alarmingly intimate. The blonde woman completely unaware went about her daily life. The camera angles were unsettling, some from a high vantage point, others seemingly from a closer, more personal level. It was as though the person behind the camera was constantly shifting, finding new ways to observe her. In one video, she was reading a book in her living room, the camera angle suggesting it was filmed from a higher shelf. In another, she was in her kitchen, the camera positioned in a way that it captured her face in perfect detail as she cooked. The voyeur had captured her in moments of laughter, deep concentration, and even in moments of sadness. It was as though they were trying to document every facet of her emotional state. As I delved deeper into the files, a chilling narrative began to form. There were notes attached to some of the videos, comments on her routines, guesses about her thoughts and feelings. It was as if the person behind the camera was trying to piece together her life, understand her, or worse, to predict her next move. Hand clasped tightly over mouth, I recoiled in horror, skimming dozens more diary entries cataloging the narrator called Gavin and his inexplicably intense fixation with modestly pretty Hannah 2 floors below him. His preschool teacher hours should never even cross this phantom woman's college student routines by all logic. Yet I read on, nauseously following his descent into disturbed addiction fueled by watching her window, guessing passwords to access her social media, plotting meet-cutes to arrange fateful public interactions, even speculating in gruesome medical precision how he might sample literal flavors once winning her as his forever living doll through whatever means necessary to ensure their predestined souls bonded eternally. By the time I reached his finale entry fantasizing graphic murder-suicide victory scenarios freeing our perfect love from moral laws, I nearly vomited onto the ominous epic detailing years methodically plotting to overtake then consume this innocent lady's every life force like his personal sustenance supplied, should she ever deny their whispered metaphysical connection. Snapping instantly sober, escaping the virtual house of psychotic revelations, I proceeded to factory wipe all traces of Gavin's warped gift from my world and memory, both for Hannah's continued safety. Then manically, I recreated new online personas, posing as random former Craigslist customers, warning about the predatory seller in hopes shielding wider targets. But the chilling coast files and even more chilling living creature generating them still haunt peripheries. My dare glimpse what darkness surely still stalks society unseen until provoked by obsession's perfect storm.